For the business news now on the programme, we're going to start with Russia. Now, this is Russia actually reducing supplies through one of its oil pipelines. And our business editor, Stephen Carroll, has that and all the rest of the business news for us. Stephen.
Up to 1 million barrels of oil a day could be cut from this pipeline, which links Kazakhstan to the Black Sea. Russia's deputy energy minister says supplies will be reduced to repair storm damage. The disruption could last for up to 2 months and affect 1% of global oil supplies. The Caspian Pipeline Consortium says that current market conditions will make it harder to repair the damaged parts of loading facilities. That's thought to be a reference to Western sanctions. Now, the CPC pipeline is a major export route for oil from Kazakhstan. It runs from the oil fields in Tengiz to the port on the Black Sea through Russia. An order from the White House, which banned imports of Russian oil, had actually exempted supply from this pipeline as long as it was certified as coming from Kazakhstan. The news, though, adding further pressure to markets which are seeking to replace Russian oil products. The French oil company, meanwhile, TotalEnergies, says it'll stop buying Russian oil and diesel by the end of this year. The company had faced criticism for not following its rivals Shell and BP in cutting ties to Russia sooner. Total says it won't renew supply contracts for oil, but will maintain its purchases of Russian gas. Speaking on French radio this morning, CEO Patrick Pouyanné says the decision doesn't put the company's future at risk. Well, let's take a look at what's happening on oil prices today for you. News of that potential disruption to supplies through that pipeline did send prices slightly higher today. Yesterday, I should say. Today, things are a little bit more stable. We've got small gains on Brent crude and on WTI. Brent crude trading $116.70 a short time ago. That's, of course, around the level that we've seen in the recent days as well. On the stock markets, European shares trading pretty flat at the open. Total shares are down slightly after that news. Investors also digesting news about inflation in the United Kingdom, which hitting a 30-year high of 6.2%. In Asian trading earlier, we had gains across the main bourses. The Nikkei in Tokyo closing up by 3%. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong up by 1.2% a short time ago. Japanese shares being boosted there by a cheaper yen versus the US dollar. Now, tens of thousands of refugees from Ukraine have already arrived in France, and French companies have been stepping up to offer them jobs. Now, they include some who worked for French firms in Ukraine before they were forced to flee the Russian invasion. Camille Nedelec has the story.
Arriving from Ukraine a week ago, Nadia and Olena are hard at work. The French textile company they worked for in Kyiv offered to transport them to their workshop in France. As well as paying for the trip, the firm has given these women the same jobs they had in Ukraine and a place to live.
In Ukraine, we were in a really difficult situation. I don't even have words to describe it. Coming here is a huge help, like friends that held out their hands to us.
French colleagues communicate with them as best as they can, using translation software on their phones. Out of the 20 workers based in Kyiv, 5 accepted the offer to come to France.
We felt that we had a role to play, as we had close links to Ukraine, and we wanted to do our part.
Not far from Toulouse Airport, a catering company providing in-flight meals is also hoping to hire Ukrainians. It's offering 120 permanent contracts paid at around minimum wage for low-skilled work, such as packing up the meals.
The advantage of a job like this is that a worker who doesn't speak French and has no experience in catering can get trained up within a few days.
The firm says it's not just about doing good, but it's good business too, as it has struggled to recruit staff to fill these jobs. Once the company gets the green light from French authorities, it plans to start its recruitment drive among refugees from Ukraine.
The United States and Britain have agreed a deal to ease tariffs on imports of steel and aluminium from the UK, which were imposed under the Trump administration. It'll allow 500,000 metric tonnes of steel to be sold to the US tariff-free, starting on the 1st of June. The UK will also end its retaliatory trade barriers on American products, including whiskey. This follows a similar deal reached with the European Union and Japan to lift the taxes imposed under the former US president. Finally, from me, global spending on music jumped by almost a fifth last year. Figures in the industry body IFPI show that revenues from recorded music reached almost $26 billion, the highest level since records began in the 1990s. Streaming now accounts for almost 2/3 of revenues, with over 520 million paid subscribers counted at the end of 2021. But there was also growth in physical music sales, which were up by 16%. And Stuart, sales of CDs increased for the first time since the year 2000. Have you been buying CDs again?
Vaguely remember that. It's all those Johnny Hallyday records you've been buying, Stephen. That's what it is.
Stocking up.
That's what that 16% is for. Stephen Carroll, our big Johnny Hallyday fan here on France 24.